I feel like the UX bootcamps are lagging behind a few years, and it's not enough for the goals they have. And then coaching is perhaps the perfect thing to get them back on track.
That's fair. What are some of the things that you have to your point, I guess, unlearn? What are there themes around like the bad habits that they're being taught, or is it just because they're lagging behind and what they're teaching has become old?
I think that final thing you mentioned mainly. Also, I feel like most bootcamps teach you to create a case study and a portfolio or portfolio website, and then you can really see we are kind of live now. This is what I always wanted to say. We are live.
And we are officially live.
We are officially live, exactly. I mean, this is just an experiment.
Hey Nick, how are we doing?
Hello, I'm doing well, very busy, but I always will make time to talk to you and this show and help people and that kind of stuff. How about yourself?
I'm with you. Yeah, busy, spinning plates, like I mentioned before. So I'm working on a bunch of different things, but
yeah,
getting stuff done.
Yeah. Well, that's good to hear. For me, a part of the busyness is noticing that more people are coming in and asking for career help recently. Probably because, as summer is behind us, in this part of the world at least. Schools are starting again. So I feel like this is the moment where people are getting, back into the career switching, job hunting, and getting hired, improving on the job, that kind of stuff. So why not talk a bit about the coaching you do for people and the things you notice, and I'll jump in and do the same.
Perfect. Yeah, I think to start off, I think coaching in general is the major unlock for most people. It's the old analogy of your golf swing doesn't get any better by just you being there alone. It takes a coach, someone that's looking at you from a couple feet away to kind of see if your hands are in the right place, if you're swinging at the right speed. Having a different perspective is great to kind of level up in your career, or it's like in whatever personal development realm you're in.
Yeah.
And that's why I kind of got into it just by accident, started posting and then people asking for help. And I saw the value in both helping people and also like the selfish nature. It makes me feel good to help others kind of navigate their path in their career.
I'm not sure there's anything selfish about that. I mean, you're helping people.
Of course. And it's just something that I missed early in my career. I think I've talked about it before, where 2 months into my first job, senior designer quit, left afloat on my own. And I wish I had that mentor earlier in my career. I could have had a less bumpy ride, I guess.
Yeah. During the bumpy ride, it's a problem, but I also feel that at the end of the bumpy road, it's an advantage for you because you've had so many obstacles and challenges that you will be better compared to you having had a smooth ride all the way to that point.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. You get to see all the different bumps and then help people avoid those bumps in the future.
Yeah, but I really understand that it doesn't feel that way. For example, my second ever job, like in 2017 or something like that, I was the only designer at the whole company. I was too entry level, too junior to really handle it, turns out in the end. And it does feel like you're standing still, so I'm not sure if that's something you had as well during the bumpy ride, but it did feel like wasted time.
Yeah, it definitely did. I remember actually when I was my first job again, like out of school, like when my potential mentor left, I was trying to figure out what to do. Fresh out of school, worked at an e-commerce place, trying to figure out like how to implement the traditional design. What is art? Like my background's traditional, like painting, drawing, a little bit of graphic design. How do you apply that to like an e-commerce site? Like it's not about, again, making things look pretty. It's about helping things convert, to driving traffic, leads, et cetera, et cetera. I was struggling a bit. And then it turns out the CEO at the time was actually considering laying me off at the time because I wasn't getting it. He told me later on, but eventually something clicked where I'm like, you know what? Every design that I keep pushing keeps getting pushed back. Let me just design things how I think they should be versus me trying to copy what's already existing. So essentially finding my own voice, and ended up doing really well, and ended up being like the lead designer thereafter. But the CEO, which I was good friends with, was like, I almost let you go. You're lucky I kept you. I'm like, yeah, you're lucky that you kept me as well. So we had a good,
well, that's a
run.
power move. That's really a powerful response from you. No, you're the lucky one.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well,
it was all in good
I
jest,
had,
though.
well, that's good to hear. Like, it made me think of an experience I had when I was fresh out of school. I had a job interview, and I sat down with. This was still in the in-person time where you would go to an office. I got in my mom's car, drove over to another city,
Yeah.
and had a meeting with some sort of design lead or manager. And within 3 minutes, I was outside again, and the guy told me, "You will never make it," is what he said. I'm like, whoa, this is me laughing, by the way. I'm not, I didn't have a sigh or a cry or anything, because it's just really funny. And then years later, I drove by that same office building, and that company, it had a for sale sign in the window, like, for the building itself, not for the company. So, that was a good moment for me. But that's something that happened. Like, you're never gonna make it. I mean, that's a harsh thing to hear, and a bit of a mentorship or coaching at that moment would have been very useful, because I sat in the car. I was like, what did just happen? It was in and out the door in minutes. I was in the waiting room longer than I was in the office.
Well, we could
chalk
that up to be your, for going all marvelly, your villain origin story that turned you into the great designer that you are today.
Yeah,
which is,
and that's
which we can always turn negatives into positives. I think those kind of bumps in the road kind of shape who we are today. And I'm curious, how has like your mentorship journey or being a mentor to other designers, how did that kind of start for you?
Well, the job I just mentioned, where I was the only designer that was in a startup, my second ever job. So first hire, only designer, and all I learned in school was, like you have as well, like graphic design and a bit of psychology and interaction design, but nothing really like what you call UX today or product design. So I was in over my head. I was just going by design gut feeling, and as a designer in a startup, you do everything. Like, there's not really a job description because nobody knows anything. There's no process. You're all figuring it out as you go. 1 year later, the company, they had to quit, like no investment, and ran out of money, like your typical startup story. And I wrote an article about it. Very clickbaity title, of course. It's called "I Failed as a Designer at a Startup." That's
a good one.
It was in the Medium days, when you would write on Medium, and you would make a few dollars because they have like membership programs and you get a part of it. So not a lot of money, but for me, it was like, for my scope, it was a viral article. Like, so instead of hundreds of views, it got thousands of views, which isn't like super viral. Like, it's not Mr. Beast type viral, but it's there's quite a lot, and comments came in like, "Hey Nick, I'm deciding if I want to work in a startup, and your article really helped me make a decision." Because the article, because of it had a clickbaity title for sure, but I wrote about things that happened and things I would do different the second time. So it turns out to be quite informative for some people, and so some people said like, "Hey, thank you, this is helpful," and others said to me like, "Hey, I'm still on the fence. Can we, do you have some time? Can you answer a few questions?" And then that turned into, someone asking me to sit down with them for an hour. And that became mentorship and coaching, and started for free, and then started very cheap, and then started a community. And that's how the whole, designer turned teacher type side hustle that I have. That's how it all started.
And do you remember that first session? Because imagine like transitioning from like doing things on your own, navigating, being a designer or UX designer or whatever the name was back then.
Yeah.
And then teaching what I must felt uncomfortable, or was it natural for you?
It was not natural, but also not new for me, because by the time I wrote it, I was on my third job, and in the first and the third job. So then the current one at the time,
Mm.
I had interns, design
Okay.
interns. So I already knew a little bit about, helping someone, find their place in the company and see what they struggle with and helping them, strengthen their weaker areas, that kind of thing. But the main challenge for me was like cultural differences. Like, I'm in the Netherlands, and when I say culture, I mean more like company culture.
Mm.
Like, we are very direct. So when someone struggles to get a foot through the door, like, I have very Dutch things to say, like, just do it, don't care, just go. But that doesn't really work for someone where like politeness and indirectness is more common on the workforce. And so I had very local advice that where I wasn't sure if it was useful at all in basically any other place in the world.
Yeah, I think we have that similar sentiment. My mother is actually German, so I have that kind of directness in the family as well. So things that work for me do not work for others, like you just mentioned.
Mhm.
So some people need, I don't know if a compliment sandwich is the right word, but a less direct approach, which is fair because everyone learns and kind of progresses in different ways, and they kind of receive feedback in their own little way. So
Yeah.
and it's interesting. I'd say it's probably, there's not a one shoe fits all kind of deal. It's kind of like understanding who you're trying, like where they are today, understanding who they are and what their goals are, and then how to get them there.
Yeah. The biggest difference, like just as an extension to your question, is that I started with being kind of arrogant, like, well, let's just sit down and I'm just going to tell you what to do. I'm going to tell you how things are done here. But then I found out that didn't work at all. And now, like, the big difference now is that I have more of a system in place. Like, I have an intro call before a longer commitment. Like, let's talk about who you are. Is there a personal click? Like, can we laugh together? Like, do things go like naturally well? Do we have a flow? But also more talking about like, what are your goals? I had a coaching call where someone in the end told me, like, well, this felt more like a portfolio review, but I still don't know this thing. And I'm like, oh yeah, you're right. Like, we talked about that being a goal. Well, let's extend for 30 minutes and tackle it still, because an oversight on my part. So it's more about goal setting and listening and having systems. I think that's make all the difference for an average or a good coach.
That's good. That's interesting, because I think you said something there, like goal setting. How important is goal setting? I feel like that's maybe super important, like having a goal in mind while you're coaching the individual.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's crucial even. I think it's the most important thing, because sometimes the person you're coaching has no goal, or they don't know their goal, or they have an overly ambitious goal. Like, I'm in a new country and I want to have a job within 3 months, and I have no experience, no portfolio, and I don't know what to do. Well, then you maybe have to set some more realistic expectations for them, and it's also because coaching, it's quite subjective. It's not really like it's a 0 or 1, it works or it doesn't. So when you say, like, let's coach for 3 months, like, it's good to have at the start to set a goal for in 3 months, and then you can reflect. And then it's also a good fallback for yourself. Like, did we do a good job? Like, did we achieve that goal? Yes or no? Yeah. So it's important for multiple reasons.
Great. And then how do you, in those kind of, let's say you have that 3 months goal, do you have like a session that kind of like, hey, here, like you kind of touched on it a bit, but it's like almost like a being in school and getting your report card. How well did we do?
Well, it's more to have guardrails during the collaboration. So my first session is always free. It's just like, let's just see if, I don't like the word, but let's see if we vibe together. Let's see if we worked well together. That meeting always, it helps me understand you as the person that wants coaching. In multiple directions, like, does that person like me? Do I like that person? But also, do I think I can help the person? Like, maybe the person wants to go like full-time employment in a different country, but I'm a freelancer in my own country. So then I'm like, well, maybe I'm not the right coach, and I want to be honest about that. I'm not just a money grabber that way. So that's what we learn in that meeting. It usually has like 1 or 2 like pointers already. And then the next step is what I call the UX super brainstorm. It's talking about like being marvelly. It has a name. It's a 90-minute workshop where we just do brainstorming together in a FigJam board. And it has the value for them is that they go from stuck to unstuck. Like they know what to do. And then they also know what my involvement potentially could be. And that's also the moment where we set goals, and then the person can say yes or no for like, yes, let's work together for X amount of months, or no, I'm going to try on my own first and then see what happens. So that's already where we set the goals. And then what I do, like every meeting, I just do a little reflection moment. Like, hey, these are the goals. Are they still relevant? Yes or no? What's the progress? Do we need to pivot or adjust something? Just to double check we're still on track, basically.
I'm curious. I found this. I'm curious if it's the same for you during your coaching sessions. I feel like half the battle is coaching them to be the person they want to be. So it's more like the psychological part. So it's less of the old statement, give someone a fish, they eat for a day, teach someone to fish, they eat for a lifetime. But I feel like for coaching, it's teach them to be the person to catch the fish. So it's kind of one layer removed. So like if you want to be a senior, you want to be, these are your goals. We have to coach them to be that person that can do these different things or achieve that goal, rather than teaching them the skills to get them there. I feel like if you teach them to become the person in the psychological sense, the other pieces come together. They can figure it out on their own. So it's more of like a mind frame. I'm curious if that's at all is part of your strategy as well.
I think so. But what I think, or how I translate what you're saying, is that what I notice at least is people are tired because of the constant rejection. They lack a bit of confidence. They just don't know what to do. So if you help them, if you give them a push into the right direction, then they feel more confident. And they can also check with me like, hey, you are an actual designer doing an actual job. Like this thing I read in this bootcamp, is it true? Yes or no? What do you think? So if that's what you mean, then yes. If not, please elaborate maybe with an example or two from your experience.
I guess a simple analogy is if you're a junior designer and your goal is to be a senior designer, you have to become or do the things that a senior designer does to then get promoted to become a senior designer. So you have to become, it's not like you're junior and then this magical, hey, ta-da, you're a senior designer. You have to become you have to become in mindset and also in skill set, do all the things that a senior designer does. But it starts with the mindset first. Like, I'm a senior designer. What are the things that it lacks to become the official crowned senior designer?
It's not just experience. Like, it's not like the day you hit like 4 years of experience, ding, congratulations, you're a senior. That's not the case. But yeah, that's true. Like, it's a bit of hand holding and like they're in the forest and they can go left, middle, right and far or a zigzag. Like, they can do so many things and then they're confused. And you're the Yoda in the forest that will, the wise elderly one that will guide them and steer them into the right direction. That's how it feels to me. But also, there's also still like a bit of hard skill, or let's say deliverable work. Like, yes, I agree with you. Majority is becoming a certain type of person. But there's also like a good 30-40% of the time, for me at least, that we spend on cleaning up the portfolio, LinkedIn profile, and that kind of stuff.
Okay. And are there patterns or like maybe different personas or different buckets that you would kind of place mentees in? Like, are you seeing like patterns around the type of things junior designers or designers that you mentor that are looking to upskill in these specific areas?
I think for me, it's more about certain situation they're in. I currently, just to show you my playing field, I currently have two coaching clients, which is about the average. Like, I always have between 1 and 4, I guess 1 and 3 meetings scheduled at any given time. Both of them are non-Dutch people trying living already in the Netherlands because of like a partner has work here and travels here and they have to be here as well, or just being relocated in full here. And they want to work in the Netherlands specifically. And they come to me because I'm an experienced person within the market they try to enter, you know? So that's one. And then the second one is more of a career switcher in general. Like, hey, I've done
Okay.
5 years of marketing work. I've been kind of exhausted with it lately. And I have a UX designer at a client and it sounds very interesting. Can you help me, do that job as well? Get hired and learn and that kind of stuff. So those are the two main groups that I have had, let's say, in 2025. So the last few months.
Okay. Question might be or might be singing your praises, but we've talked about the rise of boot camps and how some of them feel like they under deliver in terms of what they offer, what they're teaching.
Mm-hmm.
Your one-on-one mentorship, you find that it's better than a boot camp? And I'm leading with an answer that I probably I probably know your answer.
Like I'm correcting or fixing it, I think is a better word. I feel like the UX bootcamps are lagging behind a few years and it's not enough for the goals they have. And then coaching is perhaps the perfect thing to get them back on track.
That's fair. What are some of the things that you have to your point, I guess, unlearn? Are there themes around like the bad habits that they're being taught, or is it just because they're lagging behind and what they're teaching has become old?
I think that final thing you mentioned mainly. Also, I feel like most bootcamps teach you to create a case study and a portfolio or portfolio website, and then you can really see when you go to the website, like, yes, this is a portfolio made according to bootcamp rules, and there's no blame or shame in that because that's just people are like entry level. They learn, they go to a place and then they do the things that they have learned. So that makes perfect sense. But then they run into the issue of, well, I'm not getting hired. I'm not getting any callbacks. So that's because companies can choose from hundreds of people with the same bootcamp style portfolio. So that's a big one, redoing the portfolio. And that's mostly taking away things. Like it's too big, and I think that's also because of insecurity. For me, it was insecurity. Like I have had like imposter syndrome. Like I still have sometimes. I think we all have it at times. And then my coping mechanism was to be extremely thorough. Let's just have a 20-page case study. Everything's tackled. Look how smart I am.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's something that happens on bootcamp portfolios as well. So that's a big one. And then the new thing is networking, like how to approach people, how to build your network, how to find different ways to get hired rather than just applying on LinkedIn or Indeed or one of the big websites. Because I think that's almost never learned in a bootcamp, because it's hard to learn in a bootcamp. How teaching a soft skill in theory is, I think, very challenging. Something you learn by doing, but then I feel like there's no guideline at all in bootcamps. It's just like, here's design thinking, here's how you do step 1, here's how you do step 2, here's how you do a portfolio, and then that's that. Well, and then people go out and they graduate, and then they're like, okay, and now what?
Yeah, I think networking is under taught. Like, I think it's super important. Earlier on, I had no idea. I was like, I think we're all thinking, if I can get my Photoshop or Figma design like to the max, if I'm 9 out of 10 from my 6 out of 10, then that's how I progress in my career.
Yeah.
Rather than, I think if you're 6 out of 10 designer and you're 9 out of 10 networking, or like you've built that circle. So like you're going to events, you're talking to people on LinkedIn, it's like the old saying, your net worth is your network. So it's like connecting with others can facilitate you getting more work. Because at 100%. The end of the day, we're hiring, or you're giving jobs to the people, not just the portfolio itself.
Yeah.
That's why one of the undervalued pieces of your portfolio is probably your about page. Like who are who are we hiring? Who's the individual that we're going to be hiring? Can I stand, or will I enjoy, to put a more positive spin on who can I stand working with every day? It's more of who would I enjoy or love working on a day-to-day basis, because I'm not working with your portfolio and how you design them.
True.
I'm working with you as the individual.
100%. And back in the day when I was still applying for like in-house full-time positions, I always included a joke in my cover letter. And like, I don't have scientific proof, but the thing I can say is that I've had multiple times where I was at a job interview, and within the first 5 minutes, they referenced the joke from the cover letter. So it makes you so much more human, the sense of humor, having that about page. And that's, I didn't say it before, but you are right. Like, that's something that I think is missing in a lot of portfolios. So, and it's one of the first things I mention in any coaching call. Like, here's what I would do for an about page. Here's what there should be. Like these 5, and you only have the first or the second one. It's time to draft the rest as well, and then we will do a review later.
Yeah, I think because the personality goes a long way, and that in your about, it probably like in the copy that you write for your case studies, just this what separates. I think most portfolios, as much as we try to make things unique, they tend to follow a certain format, because there's particular things that we need to include to convey, or like to communicate to the hiring manager that we have like the standard, we have a design process, we have we're showing metrics, the intro, who we collaborated with, they all kind of look homogenous. But what is one of the differentiators is like that about page, like who you are as the individual.
Yes. I always felt like if you make it to an interview, then it's like, once you get, then you have done the hard part. Like, it's super hard to stand out when you're a PDF in a folder with 100 PDFs. But once you shake someone's hand, look them in the face, and sit down with them, or virtually, how you position yourself, like, do you sit up straight and that kind of stuff, like, then it's all about you. Then it's a performance. So that I think that's really true, and the about page helps a lot. What also helps is the hero section of your main landing page. I think for 100% of my coaching calls, and also for bootcamp portfolios, the hero section is too long. It's 3 paragraphs of bootcamp taught generic info. Well, I think it should be 1 or 2 lines, and then visuals.
And what should like those 2 lines be? Because I've seen very often where it's like, hi, I'm Jeremy. Hi, I'm Susie. Like, I do UX stuff. It's quite generic. Any tips on how to craft a compelling hero?
Oh yes, for sure. And this is something where you can spend an entire session on, perhaps even 2, just to get it right. And the one disclaimer, first of all, is that, for an entry-level designer, they might not know what that paragraph should be yet, because they haven't had the opportunity to try out different things. But in theory, by the way, I'm fine with the hello, I'm name, as long as you keep it small. Like, it's good to introduce yourself, but it's 2 lines. The first line is your role with something specific, product designer. Okay. But maybe you're a product designer in finance, or a product design developer hybrid. Let's see if you can add something specific to it. And then the thing you do, and the thing you do can be a list of industries. Maybe you are a copywriter turned product designer for Web3 and finance, for example. I mean, that already narrows it down. But if you can go even more extreme, like one thing I worked on with someone recently, like one of those 2 people, she has a background in data visualization, working a lot with like museum history type stuff. Like, how can you take all the pages of research and turn it into something that someone will enjoy when visiting a museum or an infographic, So I think, and I'm doing this by head now, like I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but it's, hello, I'm name. I'm a data-driven designer who turns multi-source complex data into design people understand, period. I think that's a very strong headline, but keep in mind that I might paraphrase it a little bit, but that's 1.5 sentence, and then you're done. And then all you need on the page is something visual to make it a bit more interesting. And then all the other stuff that you want to talk about that normally is in your hero section, according to Bootcamp, that can be the intro to the section about you with a link to more about me on a separate page, So yeah, I'll pause there because otherwise it will be a monologue where I will just rant about portfolios. And I don't think that's the episode for today.
No, but to your point, it's a very important. And I do something similar.
Yeah.
Like I take a session specifically for that line, similar to you. Like, what do I do? What industry? The more specific, the better. One thing that I'm suggesting to some of my mentees, but if you want to get extreme about it, which this might be a hack for the current situation. Like currently, I think the industry is oversaturated. So we have little jobs, many designers. So, and the more niche your title is and tailored to the specific company, the better.
Yeah.
I think taking a page out of like the old school landing page playbook where, I don't know if you remember, we used to do like different variations of a landing page, and you would drive people depending on the persona you're targeting. You could probably have different heroes depending on who you're sending your application to. So it could be that you're a Swiss Army knife, you're a generalist. You don't really care what industry you work in, whether it's finance, whether it's e-commerce, whether it's health tech, etc. You can probably just add an attribute to the end of the URL, and then that'll change the line. So instead of fintech designer that takes complex problems into delightful solutions, it'll be health tech designer. Or e-commerce designer or clothing brand designer, whatever it is. Because I think the more niche, like the more the hiring manager sees like, oh, I work at a company. I want a designer that does fintech. Oh, this person does exactly what I want. Perfect. You've passed the first stage. And then I'm going into your case studies.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I think that's 100% correct. And then that's also the challenge, because an entry-level designer does not have any like industry-specific experience yet, or even when you're an entry-level designer with one project under their belt, like you don't know if you want to keep doing that current industry. Like maybe it's smart to do different things and see if you like it better. Like I think that's one of the things also I learned from UX coaching is that you really have to look at things from the position of the job hunting entry-level designer who's a bit scared. Like, we have it easy. Like you and I together, we have a quarter of a century of experience, just to make us sound really old. No, you and I, we both have 10 plus, just to make it more,
there you go,
more normal sounding. Anyway, but for us, it's very easy. Like we've been everywhere. If you ask me, like, have you done finance? Yes. Government, of course. Sports, high tech, retail. Like I've been everywhere. It's like the old Johnny Cash song. Like I've been everywhere. But it's then easy to give someone in a different position advice that's just like anecdotal, something that worked for you.
True.
But yeah, you really have to zoom out and go away from your own biases and position of luck to step into their shoes, which is a whole different world.
You touched on something there about like, because we've worked on all these different things. Would you suggest to maybe a junior designer to work at an agency? The benefit being that you generally work on a variety of different projects and you get a chance to build up your portfolio with a variety of different things, or actually to your point, just figure out what you like.
I think if you look at all the different places I've been, I think the most beneficial, although I didn't leave in the best of ways, but the most beneficial for my career has been a consultancy, which you can replace that with an agency, because it's more or less the same in the sense that you work at a company, but that company has clients and you are sent out to do things at or for their clients, instead of working in a startup where the startup is your client. All you're working on is the startup. Because I've spent 6 years at the consultancy, and I think I've been in total 10 different projects some of them being a year long, some of them being only a month long. I've been like, in the northern side of the country, working with the army, doing something for a retailer, something in food, something in sports. Like I've all different company cultures, company sizes and types, and you take something with you everywhere you go. Oh, they work on their process this way. In this new place I'm at, they do things slightly different. Oh, I wonder what's best. Let's compare. I think that's very useful. So yes, agency. And if you can work in a team, don't become the first and or only designer at a company when you are new to the field. I think it's extremely valuable if you have someone a few steps ahead of you in their careers, literally ahead of you, that can shield you and coach you and guide you around pitfalls and just to share experience.
Yeah, I think that's super important. I think if you can model or you see someone in a position, you have some kind of reference point versus swimming alone, not knowing where up is. So like we all want to progress in our careers. So like what does that look like? And it doesn't mean exactly that you're going to replicate exactly what this person does. You're kind of taking bites and pieces from different people, and you become your unique designer that you are as you progress. But if you have a reference point, what is a senior designer? What does a design manager? What does a design leader look like? Because it could feel quite lonesome, I imagine, or I know if you're the solo designer at a company.
Yeah, you lose a bit of your design nature because the only influences you have around you are like technical people, engineers, marketers, founders, and they value different things compared to a designer. So I noticed that in the startup days, when I was the only designer, I was very like developer focused. Like, what do they need? How can we make sure they are happy? And I really noticed I lost a bit of creativity there that I really need to get back once I had to leave the startup, and that came back because I came into a team of like, I think like 20 or 30 designers in a very large company. And the whole vibe was different over there. It was much more about, let's have a brainstorm, and the brainstorm was extinct in the startup. So let's just survive and do things, and we'll see later. So yeah, agency plus team, if you can. I think that's the perfect place to grow as an entry-level designer.
Yeah, I'd agree. The caveat there is that, well, I mean, you can go if that's your thing. At least for me, my personal preference is that you start there but don't end there. Because you should find there's things or projects that you kind of graduate towards, and like you want to do more of that thing. And the thing about agencies sometimes that you're sometimes disconnected from the outcome. So like you're working in an agency, you're working client projects, and you're kind of handing it over. And then you don't know what happens to it. The benefit of working for one particular company is to see the fruits of your labor. How well did this thing do versus an agency style? It's very on to the next project.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's true. Also because the agency is always about just finish the job, we get paid, we move on to the next one. Like the feeling of being rushed might also be part of it. And I don't think that's always healthy for yourself, but also if you look at it from a I want to learn perspective. I always had to fight this battle of give me time so I can help my intern. Give me time I want 1 or 2 hours a week that I can just sit down and do things the wrong way or slower than usual on purpose, just so that my intern or junior designer can shadow me and I have time to explain that to them why I do certain things this way. But that's a hard sell in my experience. In an agency, it's always like, no. It's all about like billable hours are king, and you taking your time coaching someone, that's not a billable hour. That's a wasted hour, is what they will say. And that in part is also one of the reasons why I, want to do some coaching, because I like sitting down with someone and really trying to help them and digest certain things. Like, why do we do this thing? Because they ask me questions that make me think. Because I do things a bit on autopilot by now. It's good to have fresh perspective. So I learn from the people I coach. which is quite interesting. Like they learn from me, but I also learn from them.
That's true. Like, can you expand upon that? Because I imagine I've always heard that if you really want to learn something, if you distill it or teach it to someone else, you understand it better.
Yeah. Yeah, true. Well, it's also when I do something on my own, you memorize things. So when something isn't really according to like what's quote unquote best practice, but you have a workaround, then you just leave that workaround in because you're the one working on it. And it's fine because you memorize it. But then when someone else comes in and then they ask you like, why did you do this thing? Well, then you have to explain it to them. And then you are the silly person. Well, I don't know. I was just in a rush. Then you really have to think about it. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a big one. I have someone who's going to shadow me next week, and they already have sent over questions, but I don't know them. I haven't memorized them, so I can look them up, but that will slow down our conversation too much. So I'll tell you later.
Okay.
How about yourself? I mean, I'm telling you a lot of things about how it's for me. Like I have a whole system, like free meeting, super brainstorm, optional longer collaboration. But like, what do you do? Like, do you make money from it, or is it like volunteering work or on the job? Like, I'm curious about your like coaching business.
Yep. So I do free mentorship at the moment. So I do maybe 2 or 3 per month max. So it's once a week for either a month or two, maybe similar structure to you. So it's like a kickoff call, just understanding high level.
Yeah.
And then I'll kind of guide you through just understanding their goals so we can kind of see what winning is or what success is. I generally have 2 different buckets. So it's trying to get a job or trying to get or career progression. Those are the kind of the 2 buckets that people generally fall under. So success for the first is getting your job. And then the second is either getting a promotion or finding a higher position somewhere else.
Right.
But it generally starts, first session is, I call it personal branding. So who are you and who do you want to kind of show the world you are as a designer? And that shows up like that hero section, your CV, your case studies as well. Like, I'm this type of person that solves these types of problems. That has to be well communicated throughout all the collateral that you have.
Yeah.
So like I'm a stickler for like how you write copywriting for all those different collateral pieces. And then it's mindset, like touched on it before. So it's like turning you into the person that can do all these things based on like the goals that you want to achieve. I think that's the major lift. Some people are blocked. I think a lot of people are blocked. It's just like they're stuck in their way and they need to kind of a reset. It's like, okay, who am I? I've done these things. What am I really good at? And some people they don't know. They're just like, I'm a designer, full stop. Yeah. It's like, okay, well, there's more to that. Like, what are you good at? What do you hate doing? It's also like, what do you want to do less of? What are the areas that you want to improve in? And then we'll kind of create a plan for that month or two.
All right. So that's very interesting and very similar, I think, to what I'm doing. Have you ever said like no to a coaching person? Like, no, I'm sorry, I can't help you, or I can't help you anymore?
Not anymore. Well, not anymore means like I've got you to that place. But generally, I haven't said no yet. Sometimes it wasn't a good fit, so we don't move forward. So like it'll either move forward or it'll stop at the initial screening call. It's like, do you need my help? Can I help you get to where you need to be? Yes or no. If it's a yes, we can move forward. Yeah. But yeah, just generally how it goes.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen similar. But then the interesting thing is that you do it for free and that I ask money for it. I think that's a very interesting difference. I'm not sure why. I mean, why would I mean I'm not sure where I'm going with this. With you doing it for free, I'm doing it paid. Any gut feeling there? Why is that?
Yeah, so I think
why wouldn't you ask money for your experience and expertise?
I think I will. I think now I'm offering for free for a limited time offer to get all marketing and salesy. But I would like
order today.
Like in anything, do work for free and eventually charge for it. I think my initial goal is really just to see a variety of different people. So like I can have that pattern recognition, which I think I've seen. I think I've kind of classified these different personas. So I think I can help the core 2 personas that I'm tackling, and eventually I'll start charging for it.
Of course.
Also,
Of course.
I'll run out of time if I giving it away for free. And also,
yeah, that's true.
To be fair, like if you pay for something, you're going to pay attention. So
that's true. That's true.
The downside of doing it for free is that the mentee might not saying that that's the case, but it could be the case that they don't take it super seriously. I find that sometimes doing it for free is good, but eventually I'll be charging because I always like to say, if you pay for something, you pay attention, so you have skin in the game.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%. That's absolutely true. I think I did a few free meetings as well, but then you also have people not showing up, for example. So yeah, I think that's also the one of the reasons I did it. And it's not for me. I'm not doing this because I want to get rich from it. It's a side income at best. But I do think the time, someone's time is valuable. Every now and then I do give discounts, or sometimes I do a free meeting. Like for example, recently someone reached out to me. They were still a student. I'm not going to ask them a super high premium as someone who's still in school. And someone from India asked me yesterday I think. So then I really adjust to like the economic situation of the country the person is in. So I'm not an evil corporate coach. So I'm trying to be somewhere like middle ground. Yeah, and it's a lot of fun to do, especially if that person is really like happy, and then they send over a message like, "Hey, I got a job interview," and just seeing them grow and be happy with their progress instead of how they came to you. More like they came to me in a demotivated, sad, insecure. Like the difference with that moment and the, hey, yes, I got a job interview. That moment is highly motivating for me as a coach.
Yes, because you're serving them, right? So like that's the success. Yeah. It's less about it's success on both ends, making sure that they get, and then also like to validate, I actually got them to their final destination.
Yes.
Or a pit stop on the journey to to whatever their final destination continues to evolve.
Well, of course. Yes. Well, of course, you're building them up with the confidence, and that you're teaching them how to fish. It's what you said in the beginning, and then it's like you're the mama bird who's feeding like the little chicklets in a nest, and then you kick them out of the nest, and then you look down, and then they're flying, and then you're a proud parent. Strange metaphor, but it's probably true.
It should be the name of your coaching program, the Mama Bird coaching program.
Yeah.
Nick's Mama Bird coaching program.
Yeah. Well, someone called me a UX therapist once, and I worked using that name for a while, but then I also felt like an imposter, and I felt like a legal risk because I'm not a therapist. Like I don't have a license. I haven't been screened. Like over here, I'm not sure how it is in Canada, but you cannot just become a therapist over here. You have to do all sorts of checks and education. So I retired the UX therapist label for my coaching. I just remember the compliment now.
Well, yeah. Well, I think it's a major part of it. The psychology, the unlicensed psychology of UX design. I think it's also an important part.
Yeah, it's what do they say about financial advice, where you have to say like, this is not financial advice, do your own research. That's something I would probably have to say as well. Like, this is no official therapy, medical advice. Do your own research. I'm just a guy. Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, this has been great, right? Talking about our experience as coaches and the common pitfalls and things people, hopefully find it useful about coaching. Anything else about coaching you want to say, or should we tease the somewhat aligned topic of the next episode?
Yeah, I think I want to have you selfishly plug your coaching, where we can, and mine as well, see where we can both, where everyone can find us. I was doing some mental math while we were speaking. I'm actually, speaking of free coaching, I'll be stopping my free coaching as of November 28th, which might be around where this episode gets released.
Yeah, more or less.
Maybe you might have 2 weeks grace period. So get on now. But you can reach out to me on LinkedIn or at sassifyos.com.
Yep.
There's a book a call link there for some free coaching sessions for
Nice.
the next 2 weeks until it's paid. How about you?
It's a highly specific date, November 28th.
Boxing Day.
Boxing Day, of course. Well, our Boxing Day is later, but we're a different part of the world. Yeah, maybe people can give you a coaching gift. Like, hey, here's a coupon for a free Tyler sesh.
There you go.
Yeah.
I'm going to call it my Mama Bird discount.
Yeah, good one. I mean, you can really see like we're designers, so we think in visual ways and metaphors and that kind of stuff. For me, it's also LinkedIn. Just send me a message over there, and that's mainly because my coaching and design content website is very outdated and currently in my local environment under construction to be relaunched. So I don't have a link to send you towards. Maybe when this gets out, but I don't want to put myself under too much pressure there because I have lots to do. It's an evening project for me just to get that website up and running again. So yeah, LinkedIn. It's probably linked in the description. I mean, we have a get to know Tyler and Nick link there.
Yeah.
Speaking of descriptions, I think also good moment to mention that you can really help us by leaving a review in Spotify, Apple Music, like all the big players, and liking this video, subscribing, or leaving a comment with questions you have, because then that will expand our reach and our us growing the show. And by doing so, you will help more people get some coaching help and hopefully a new job or a better job. So let's help each other. That's what I want to say.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, nice. Thanks for that. Did we mention what we're going to do the next episode, or did we only? We did only.
Let's tease it. So I think next episode, we're going to be talking about how education gives, I guess, unrealistic expectation of what UX is all about, and more specifically, that UX is only about helping people. So we might be doing some myth busting there.
Yep, just like last episode. The clickbaity working title, because that's what they do, right? They give in progress stuff a working title. Like our working title of this episode is How UX Education Gets It Wrong. ... Silence. And we're going to shed some light on it and help you avoid all those pitfalls, hopefully, or get you back on track. A bit more on that later.
That was a great episode. So if you like this content and want to hear more, please like and subscribe.
Yeah, and if you want to see more, please go to designtablepodcast.com, Spotify, Apple Music, all the big players, and more.